Four Nights of the Apocalypse chapter 213 is officially out, and with the cliffhanger of the previous chapter, we finally get to see who Percival actually loves, and it's kind of a decision that I have many thoughts about. And it is also an incredibly divisive chapter from what I have seen from release. Some are happy, some were disappointed, some were confused. It's a lot, and we'll get into that as we go through the chapter. But before we jump into things, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for updates on future videos. Really helps and shows you guys enjoy the content I make here on the channel and shows you want to see more. And if you want to see more of me, go and check out my manga podcast, Shonen Pulse, over on the Panel Focus YouTube channel, where me, Nox, Yatogami, and Papa Drafty talk about 9 manga from 3 different magazines on a weekly basis. It's a lot of fun, and I think you guys will really appreciate the discussions we have there. Link to that will be in the description down below. And I also have a second channel called GW Comics, where I talk about American comic books, primarily DC, some Marvel, as well as some other comics here and there that I will get around to doing as well. It's a passion project of mine, and I would really appreciate if you guys go and check it out when you get the chance. Link to that will also be in the description below. Now then, let's jump right into this chapter, shall we? So chapter 213 of Four Nights of the Apocalypse, titled A Sincere Confession, with the cover image being of pre-time skip Team Percival, with NASIENS on and Percival looking at a map while Donnie is just chilling on a hillside nearby. But the chapter begins directly from last week, as Percival says sorry to Rosebank, as he says he already has a woman that he loves. He already has someone that he loves. As Rosebank's like, the hell you do, dang it all to hell. But she says, fine, whatever, kinda figured as much. Older guys like me anyway, despite what you think. I don't know why that would have to be a thing, but okay. Not really necessary information here, but we move on. Now Isolde, obviously understanding the meaning of what Percival is saying and what it could do for on and NASIENS, goes and asks him if what he means by love, like as a woman, not like as a friend, as family, etc., you know, that stuff. And Percival says yes, goes with the clarification that Lancelot said as a mate. Now, a lot of people said in the previous comments of a video, because this series takes place in a fictional form of Britain, so the word mate also means very close friend. So, yeah, Percival's going by the other aspect of it, which is something more close for a partnership. Now, Isolde, smiling, looks over towards Anne and NASIENS, kind of nervously, as she full-on confirms what Percival meant by his words, as the two of them are blushing and are getting incredibly nervous, getting all up in each other's heads over Percival loving someone and actually having feelings for somebody, as Anne just delves way into her thoughts, wondering, why am I freaking out? This probably was the case originally. Who's it going to be? Is it me? Why would it just be me? It could be anybody else. It could be Lancelot. It could be Isolde, NASIENS. Anyone is possible. With Isolde just off in the corner with Percival just wondering what's going on with Anne right now, because she's kind of exploding in her head, with Lancelot being the only one that could hear her panicked thoughts, and also questions, why am I considered a possible love interest at this point, man? We're doing it for the gags and to give some acknowledgement to the Lancelot-Percival shippers. That is the reason, Lance. That is why you're mentioning there off the cuff. But anyway, Anne then realizes that it's probably NASIENS. It's gotta be. NASIENS is completely head over heels for Percival, and she's fully fledged a girl by now. Confirmed at this point, especially considering that Anne is basically saying that NASIENS is a girl, most likely. And Anne even says, a bit calmingly, but sad, says, I hate it, but she's smart, kind, quiet, far more womanly than I am. She'd take any risk for Percival's sake. In fact, she's the one that got Percival out of his slumber in the first place, which is pretty true if we're gonna be honest, as with everything that's happened, Percival only did this 2 years with NASIENS when NASIENS was fully in danger during the Fairy Realm arc, which again is still a very awesome moment when you look back and see it. But yeah, she's mulling it over in her head that it's almost certainly NASIENS from her perspective, saying, well, there you have it. I got my answer. There you go, as she starts to cry. With Lancelot saying, I cannot wait to see how you handle this whole thing, Percival, as Percival goes over towards Anne and NASIENS, saying, listen, and says straight up to Anne that he loves her and wants to be together, as this catches Anne off guard, with Isolde reacting to this, and Anne taking a second, saying, you had to say it, dummy. You said it out loud now, and you know I'm not going to let you take it back. As she turns around with a smile, tears in her eyes, with Percival nodding with a smile towards her as well. But after hearing this, NASIENS turns away, heartbroken in this instance, coming up with an excuse saying, "Sorry, I left something at the dispensary. I'll head back myself." As Anna's going to try and catch up to NASIENS, Percival actually runs after her, telling her to wait, with NASIENS saying to just let her go, please, but Percival turns her around, and as shockingly also says that he loves NASIENS too, and wants a relationship with NASIENS as well. And a full page, just like with On. And yeah, right as he says this, both Rosebanks, NASIENS, Isolde both have pretty much almost anyone's reaction to this, wondering, wait, what? On for a second is like, oh, NASIENS, that's so great, wait, what the hell? As NASIENS wondering, what do you mean by this? I don't get it. As Percival, jovial and innocent as he is, says, why not? All three of us could be in a relationship together. Heck, even if we have a kid, I bet that'd be really exciting, as this is just a lot of things that Percival is just thinking about and spouting out loud, as he literally keeps asking NASIENS for her answer, as On calls out to Percival, and then just slaps him across the face, tumbling him towards the other side of the street, saying to stop messing around with their minds at this point. As, after he's knocked away, Rosebanks sees the situation and says, so, I gotta head to the dispensary myself. I'll see you guys later. And she's like, yeah, I can't stay in this mess of a situation right now. I'm out of here. Seemingly getting over her feelings for Percival in this quick instance, I guess. So, that's seemingly done right now. Now, Isolde is trying to cheer up On, saying, I'm sure it's his attempt at a little bit of humor, but Lance just being brutally honest, says, yeah, no, he meant the whole thing, and even brings up the fact that On's magic didn't go off, so does he have to say more? Percival was fully telling the truth. And Isolde is just trying to say, could you at least be a bit more thoughtful when you say these things? Obviously, because this wasn't the answer she was expecting, and also this is a whole convoluted mess if we really think about it. With On just telling everyone to give her some time to herself as she heads off to the river, throwing stones in the water, just thinking over what's going on. Saying that she got carried away and all full of herself, saying that she's stupid. The three of them in some kind of three-way relationship is just weird. Why'd I ever have to fall in love with a bum like him? If he's actually serious about that, then he's lost his mind. So at least we got the answer for who Percival has feelings for. Shocker, is both of the girls that he has known for the longest time in the series. And I guess that's something. Maybe then the feelings from NASIENS became more prominent after he had woken up with everything and seeing everything that NASIENS has done for him since he kind of, pseudo-offed himself. And On probably since the beginning, since the Leonis arc, the very, very latest, I would say he started developing actual feelings for her maybe, that he just didn't realize until further along. A lot of us were kind of expecting that for him to say, I love Donnie, like he's my best friend, of course I would do that. And it being a comedic moment instead of something actually serious to keep him kind of, the bit of ambivalent idiot to these types of situations. I'm going to dive more into my thoughts on this relationship type thing as the chapter comes to a close with a bit more of a conclusive ending for this chapter, and I'll sum up my full thoughts. But this is more so just Percival just fully accepting his feelings for both of these characters and just like, hey, why not? Why the hell not, I guess? Because to him, you go with the person you love, that's it, there's nothing else complicated, is what I'm getting from him. So we're simply not going with a regular relationship, we're going with a polyamorous relationship, I guess. So we'll see how this progresses further in the story, if this even comes up as a plot point as the series progresses. But back to the chapter, Lancelot actually comes in as Sin, probably because this is the form that they all met in, and he just, I guess he feels more comfortable saying some things when he's Sin. As he's saying, maybe from the viewpoint of a human girl, he has lost his mind, 100%. But On says, oh, like you'd know. With Lancelot just saying, well, yeah, I kinda do. I'm half fairy. I know how you feel and how Percy does too. That whole time he grew up way out in the country with his grandpa. A life spirit occupying a human body. That's exactly what Percival is, with On just seemingly coming to a bit of a realization about once again being reminded that Percival isn't fully human, and to kind of take that into consideration. Lance goes on to say that life spirits don't pick and choose, they're meant to help all life grow and prosper. But him choosing strictly you and NASIENS makes him a weirdo among his final spirits. I bet on that. As Lance also says, and I ain't about to become your love critic or anything, but I can tell you one thing for sure. You're not going to find someone more honest and more sincere with everyone he meets, are ya? As we turn back to Percival at the top of the tower in Leonis. Now, I like that Lancelot's kind of like taking the time to talk to On. If anybody is going to give any sort of perspective on human, non-human relationships, I guess it would be Lancelot, I guess, because he's part human, part fairy. His parents are a whole situation we're not going to get into, but even then, perspectives of things, I guess, or whatever. He goes into the whole thing about how life spirits tend to operate, and Percival occupying a human body is kind of an anomaly amongst his fellow spirits, especially considering that he has both feelings and wants to spend time with his whole life with two specific individuals. So he's going about it in terms of Percival as a person and his, I guess, species, to that extent of him being a spirit. That and out of the entire group, I think Lancelot does have more, I guess, the emotional maturity out of pretty much everybody in their group, if we really think about it. To be just telling On to just think this through, think about Percival and who he is, his upbringing, who he is literally in terms of personality and what kind of person, what kind of, I guess, spirit he is. And don't just think on just traditional human perspectives, I guess, in that instance. It's kind of confusing. It does feel like a bit of a convoluted way of trying to justify the whole three-person relationship thing. I'm not sure about it. But Lancelot being the one to say something makes sense for the fact that he has the most emotional maturity, he's a child of a human and a non-human, and also he has his own convoluted thing going on with him. So, I guess he's probably the best person to actually, talk about this stuff. To that degree, it kind of makes sense. But back to Percival. He is just mulling over what just happened, looking over the kingdom, as NASIENS walks up the tower to get up right behind him to tell him that her answer is yes. With NASIENS saying, "That's my answer to your question," making Percival happy. NASIENS goes on to say, "This made me realize all over again that I'm not so human. I've loved you for so long and respected on Galahad just as long. The idea of us three being together makes me happy." But Percival goes on to say, "Yeah, but I'm not sure On's gonna forgive me for this." With NASIENS saying, "Oh, she will. Don't worry about that." With Percival giving an awkward smile saying, "I guess I'm pretty weird, huh?" With NASIENS resting her head on his shoulder saying, "Weird or not, I love you." Fully just saying it right off the bat in front of Percival. No awkwardness or anything. Full on walls down. And it's actually a nice sweet moment. As the two of them lock eyes and are getting close. As it seems like NASIENS is about to kiss Percival, On shows up behind him saying, "Can you two stop flirting for a second so I can join in?" And those words, with her being there right now and not punching anyone in the face, fully confirms to Percival and NASIENS that she's agreeing to this kind of unregular relationship, I guess we want to say, with the two of them hugging her with big-ass smiles on their faces. As On is also getting a bit frustrated with everything that's going on, as she's trying to wait, how am I going to explain this to my father? You guys gotta help me think of something so I can explain this to him. As the chapter ends. Now then, this was definitely the weakest chapter in a while. Now, I get it, it's not a big story progression and massive arcs and battles and revelations and stuff like that, or cool character designs, all that stuff that you would expect from a chapter. This was the weakest chapter in my opinion because this just felt like a very cop-out answer. it just feels like Nakba's like, okay, I don't know whether or not I should full force go with Percival and Galahad or Percival and NASIENS. I'll just make this into like a 3-person relationship. We'll be done with this love triangle thing. We'll end up just not being a thing anymore. We got this done and over with. Because like many people have been kind of complaining as well, and I do kind of have started to see that a little bit over the course of the series, especially post time skip with NASIENS, as I really think about it, that these two characters were kind of more so focused on Percival, especially NASIENS, making a whole bunch of her personality and development being tied to Percival and her feelings for Percival, to the point where literally her spirit and her attacks are shaped after Percival. And yeah, it makes sense why people would be upset that would be all tying NASIENS together to Percival. Now, a positive thing that we can go from this is that with this just concluded now, this whole love triangle chain thing, with the 3 of them all just done in a nice, more I wouldn't say cohesive, a less confrontational manner, we end it, and they're in a relationship now, all 3 of them. Honestly, I kind of want to see Donnie's reaction and Gawain's reaction to this. That would actually be very funny now that I think about it. But either way, it was a very cop-out answer to not avoid any unnecessary drama, because in 7 Deadly Sins, they're just the baseline relationships. There wasn't much to do with like a love triangle or relationship drama to add into the series. There was obviously the end in the beginning, but that was kind of dropped pretty early on, especially with King back and their backstory revealed. But either way, there was never really much of a love triangle thing. There was Bond, Elaine, and Jericho, but even then it was clear that Jericho was not really a factor. But even then, it just feels like Nakba was trying to do a bit too much with this. He was trying to experiment with it and probably realized at the last second, I don't know a real big satisfying conclusion to this, to the point where it would satisfy fans but also make sense for the characters and the events going forward. So I think this is probably his best option right now, and the tension, the relationship tension for these characters, and then we can move on. And hopefully, with this aspect of like their characters done and over with, maybe we could find a bit more to explore with An and NASIENS as their own individual characters outside of this relationship, and being like, oh, I like Percival, does he like me? Are we gonna fight against each other in terms of like who will get us affection, all that stuff? And I'm like, I feel like that is probably for the best that we dropped this, because he wasn't dropping master levels of like romantic tension and relationships for stuff like that in this series right now. The best one was definitely Isolde and Tristan. But even then, Rosebanks just showed up primarily just for the sheer factor of just accelerating this whole confession and getting this relationship off the ground, and just tied up in a bow. And she was just out of the story, so for the time being, until it comes back. This is definitely going to be some chill, like, relaxing arcs after everything that happened with the tournament and Lancelot's backstory, so we'll see what happens going forward as we're going to start a new arc. But at least we have this relationship's drama just settled, because I feel like if Nakba continued, he probably would have made it worse. Because like he wasn't doing a great job with it, and it just kind of was a detriment to NASIENS' character to only make that the sole focus of her character post-time skip, especially once Percival was revived. So maybe we can focus more on her fairy stuff, and being the next leader of the fairy clan or whatever. We can deal with that. And on being a powerful holy knight like her mother, surpassing her mother. So I kind of hope we go with that aspect. But yeah, the relationships and stuff like that are kind of done for Percival. That's now we have the rest of the series without needing to like wait for that to be resolved. But I'm rambling at this point. Let me know your thoughts and opinions on this in the comments section down below. Do you think this was a good decision? Do you think this was a bad decision? Are you fine with it as long as we don't have the whole will they will they thing be dragged out for too long, or would you have liked it to be either or of the two characters with Percival? Let me know in the comments section, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for updates on future videos. Really helps and shows you enjoy the content I make here on the channel, and shows you want to see more. And with all that said and done, hope you all have an awesome day.